When we're first exposed to the Harry Potter story, Gryffindor are introduced as the good guys. They can't do anything wrong, can they? Slytherin Bad, Gryffindor Good. But it's not really that simple, is it?
Because when you actually look past the golden glow of Gryffindor House, past the roaring lion mascot, the impressive Quidditch performances, and the constant rule-breaking that somehow always gets rewarded 100 house points at the end of the year, what you start to see is a culture that's not exactly representative of moral superiority or emotional maturity. We're told that Gryffindor values courage, but what they don't tell you is how that courage can often manifest as impulsivity, arrogance, and a tendency to take action before thinking things through. Now, hear me out. This is not a Gryffindor hit piece. I know a lot of you are in Gryffindor. In fact, according to most polls I've seen, the majority of fans seem to be Gryffindors, although to be frank, I'm not sure everyone is entirely honest when they take the tests. But what I want to explore is why Gryffindor and Slytherin are portrayed as the yin and yang of Hogwarts houses when, in reality, they're a lot more alike than a lot of people may care to admit. And a disclaimer before we start, there are good elements to every Hogwarts house, and there is no right or wrong house. Let's dive into it. Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. First things first, what is Gryffindor sold as? It's the house of heroes, the brave, the bold, the ones who do what's right, no matter the cost. The moral backbone of Hogwarts, the house that produces champions, leaders, and selfless defenders of all that is good. And beginning each year is the same sorting hat propaganda, where it outlines the defining attributes of each Hogwarts house. In Harry's first year, it sings, "You might belong in Gryffindor, where dwell the brave at heart. Their daring nerve and chivalry set Gryffindors apart." In his fourth year, the hat sings, "By Gryffindor the bravest were, prized far beyond the rest." And in his fifth year, said Gryffindor, "Will teach all those with brave deeds their name, while the bravest and the boldest went to daring Gryffindor." Honestly, does this not sound a bit over the top? And on the flip side of all of these, quite a bit of shade is thrown at Slytherin, with Hagrid remarking to an impressionable young Harry, "There's not a single witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. You know who was one." We're taught from the beginning that Gryffindor is good, Slytherin is bad. No middle ground, no nuance, and no exceptions. Slytherins are given the ambitious label by the hat, but there's sort of a weird undertone there, like they're ambitious for the wrong reasons. There's nothing inherently wrong with being ambitious, but somehow it comes across that way. Instead of painting a picture of hardworking students, it sort of feels like a code for a group of manipulative, power-hungry, or morally flexible individuals. The strong implication here is that a Slytherin will do anything to get ahead, and that is what makes them dangerous. But meanwhile, Gryffindors are said to be bold, and there's certainly some overlap in the meanings of these two words. After all, boldness often is a kind of ambition. It's the drive to act, to stand out, to take risks and push boundaries. But when a Gryffindor does it, it's seen as noble. When a Slytherin does it, it's seen as sinister. The difference isn't in the behavior, it's in the framing. A Gryffindor breaking the rules is daring. A Slytherin doing the same is devious. A Gryffindor chasing glory is brave. A Slytherin doing so is arrogant. And that's one part of the problem. These two houses aren't opposites, they're actually reflections of the same qualities, just spun in different directions. The difference is that one gets romanticized and the other gets vilified. From the sounds of it, Salazar Slytherin wasn't a particularly pleasant fellow. Between his obsession with blood purity and, secretly building a hidden chamber to house a giant, murderous basilisk, it's hard to paint him as anything but unhinged. And yeah, he is the namesake of the house. But we're also given the Gryffindor perspective. Think about it. Our whole basis of understanding for Hogwarts is through the Gryffindor lens. Harry's a Gryffindor, the highly praised headmaster was a Gryffindor, and the school's whole culture seems to praise Gryffindors as the golden children of the school. It's hardly an unbiased perspective. If what we're told about Salazar is true, then sure, he's not a great ambassador for the house. But there's always two sides to a story. And Hagrid's statement to Harry, which was a lie by the way, might be a part of this same propaganda, that Gryffindor can do no wrong. Yeah, evil witches and wizards have come out of Slytherin, but there have also been some incredibly evil wizards who have come from other houses as well. I mean, in that very same book, Quirinus Quirrell, a Ravenclaw alumni, turned out to be conspiring with the bad guy. And while it's arguable that much of Quirrell's evil actions were a result of Voldemort having possessed him, it was indeed his hubris and intention of learning the dark arts to become a great and powerful wizard that got him into that situation in the first place. And let's not forget Peter Pettigrew, a Gryffindor student, former best friend of James Potter, Sirius Black, and Remus Lupin, and murderous traitor. As you may recall, Peter, more often referred to as Wormtail, committed the ultimate act of betrayal against his supposed closest friends, breaking the effect of the Fidelius charm after being chosen by the Potters as their secret keeper. Wormtail did this by sharing the location of James, Lily, and little baby Harry with Voldemort, who wanted to hunt the family down and kill them. And as despicable as that was, Peter didn't stop there. No. Indeed, Wormtail went on to betray yet another best friend almost immediately after that, framing Sirius Black for the betrayal of the Potters, as well as Peter's own murder, a death which, of course, Peter faked. As a result of Wormtail's actions, James and Lily were killed, Harry became an orphan, and Sirius was falsely imprisoned in Azkaban for a decade. Doesn't sound like a brave and noble person to me. In addition to the fact that not all evil witches and wizards were once Slytherin students, there's also a substantial number of pupils who were Slytherins and who turned out to be good, even great people. Merlin, who is said to be the most powerful wizard in history, was a proud Slytherin, and he wasn't evil at all. In fact, he stood for justice, equality, and the betterment of magical society. He even founded the Order of Merlin to promote those ideals. And with his levels of power, imagine what he could have done had he turned to the dark side. When you strip away the house colours, the lion versus the serpent, and the carefully crafted image of Gryffindor's heroism, the difference between these two houses isn't so much values, it's branding. I mean, if they weren't the same, then why did the Sorting Hat have such a hard time choosing between Slytherin and Gryffindor for Harry? Yeah, Harry had a piece of Voldemort's soul latched to him, but Harry wasn't exactly a flawless beacon of virtue. And the short answer here is that it's because they aren't that different. Yet Gryffindor, despite producing its fair share of flawed, arrogant, and even cruel individuals, continues to be seen as the moral high ground. And that's where the double standard starts to show. Gryffindor isn't just about bravery like the Sorting Hat claims. The house also glorifies impulsiveness, recklessness, and most notably, stubbornness. And for young students, that can be incredibly toxic. But because they're in Gryffindor, it's a pass to act this way. I'm a Gryffindor, so I can be difficult to deal with, and it's okay. I can bully people, and it's all a harmless joke because I'm a Gryffindor. I'm good, right? That's just how Gryffindors are. Wrong. Gryffindor is praised for traits like bravery, daring, nerve, and chivalry, which on paper sound great. But when taken to the extreme, these same traits can very quickly become serious flaws. The Gryffindor ideal teaches that bravery means acting without hesitation, breaking rules for the right cause, and valuing confrontation over compromise. It promotes a mindset where emotional suppression is strength, impulsiveness is virtue, and quieter qualities like empathy or humility are overlooked. And in doing so, it sends a troubling message, that only loud, visible courage matters. And that's perhaps the most toxic lesson of all. And Hogwarts doesn't just tolerate Gryffindor behavior, it actively rewards it. Time and time again, Gryffindor students are praised for actions that blatantly break the rules, so long as they're framed as brave or well-intentioned. Harry and his friends constantly sneak around the castle, violate curfews, and even brew illegal potions. Yet, instead of facing consequences, they're often celebrated. To make matters worse, a lot of their behavior is overlooked because of staff favoritism, with Dumbledore's infamous last-minute House Cup point reversals being a prime example of this. This type of thing also sends a clear message to the rest of the school. Gryffindors win, even when they don't follow the rules. And when you compare how different professors treat misconduct, Snape's harsh discipline versus McGonagall's leniency, the imbalance becomes obvious. And this is where things go from bad to worse. Yeah, the ideal Gryffindor is painted in a positive light, brave, selfless, and noble. But in the actual story, many prominent Gryffindors are far from role models. James Potter is the perfect example of this. He was arrogant, boastful, and routinely bullied Severus Snape, simply because he could. It wasn't courage, it was exercised entitlement from a bully. Then there's Sirius Black. reckless, emotionally immature, and prone to dangerous decisions that put others at risk. I mean, his idea of a prank was nearly getting Snape killed by sending him to a werewolf. And finally, Harry himself, the poster child for Gryffindor, repeatedly acts on impulse, breaks rules, ignores advice, and lashes out when things don't go his way. His heart is usually in the right place, yes, but he embodies the very flaws that Gryffindor so often excuses: rashness, stubbornness, and a savior complex. And in my opinion, a lot of these behaviors aren't exceptions, but are actually recurring traits in the Gryffindor mold. Yet they're glossed over because they come from characters we're supposed to root for. Because Gryffindor is Harry's house, and Harry is good. The messaging is quite clear. Acting before thinking is brave, rule breaking is heroic if your cause feels just, and confrontation is better than compromise. But this video isn't about putting Gryffindor down, it's about pointing out that the house is often portrayed in a way that somehow doesn't feel based in reality. At the end of the day, no one house is inherently better than another, and the fact that Hogwarts students are typically evenly divided between the 4 houses tells me that they represent the full spectrum of human traits. Gryffindors aren't just courageous, Slytherins aren't just ambitious, Hufflepuffs aren't just hardworking, and Ravenclaws aren't just studious. The 4 houses comprise the full spectrum of human archetypes, and each of them brings something essential to the table. We need all of them. Gryffindors push us to be brave, Slytherins challenge us to be resourceful, Hufflepuffs remind us of the value of kindness and loyalty, and Ravenclaws inspire us to stay curious and think deeper. So instead of pitting the houses against each other and clinging to old rivalries or one-dimensional stereotypes, maybe it's time we embrace the truth that the houses are all part of the same puzzle. And with that in mind, let's try to have a house cup that isn't totally rigged in Gryffindor's favor. Anyway, that's it for today's video. What do you guys think of this analysis? What do you agree with? Disagree with? Let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.